Okay, this video is chapter 26 from this book, The Medical Reformation. We're going to talk about is organic worth it? And the bottom line is, yeah, I think organic is worth it. And so then the question becomes, well, why? First of all, some of the best nutrition doctors in the world, doctors like Caldwell Esselstyn and John McDougall, they do not emphasize organic, nor do a lot of the other ones, okay? And I think their attitude is, look, if we can just get these people to eat low-fat vegan diet, they're going to do pretty well. So let's be happy for that. And a lot of people, they're poor. They don't have money, and organic does cost more. So that's all reasonable. And a lot of other newsletters and stuff, they don't recommend organic. I think that, given a choice, if you can afford it, it's better. And it's not as expensive, I think, as people tend to imply that it is. The most important thing is eating the plant foods and avoiding the oils. Let's see what else. But the herbicides and pesticides in non-organic can be pretty toxic. Especially, glyphosate sprayed on the soy. It's sprayed on the non-organic beans and a couple other foodstuffs. Our poor people faded to poor health. Poor people do have it worse for health. Their neighborhoods, go to the grocery store in a poor neighborhood, there's hardly anything organic. There's a lot of cheap subsidized foods, a lot of salt and all this non-organic GMO stuff. Poor people I know, they often drink tap water without any water filter at all. That's going to have tons of estrogenics, lots of F- in it. They don't get the Cl- out of there, the chloride either. Okay, well, what are some of the things that organic means? Organic means, in particular, you avoid the GMO, and that's something you want to do. Who the heck knows what GMO is going to do? It's nothing good. Anything subsidized usually means it's bad for the public. That's a pretty safe assumption. This book right here, Toxic Legacy by Stephanie Seneff, was very good. She writes about glyphosate. She's got a whole bunch of free online lectures. This guy, Mike Adams, wrote a book called Food Forensics, The Hidden Toxins in Your Food, and he had as a machine to test for different types of toxins and contaminants in food. I read his book. There's an audio version of it too. They're both good. He's got free online videos as well. Is all organic food okay? No, a lot of organic food is just, organic junk food. There's all kinds of organic potato chips with lots of oil and other problems in them and sweets. The next question is, can organic contain MSG and MFG? So MSG is monosodium glutamate. MFG is manufactured free glutamate. Manufactured free glutamate just means you heavily process a protein, split up the individual amino acids so they're just free, the individual amino acids. And there's going to be a lot of glutamate, especially in some proteins. Gluten's named gluten because it has a lot of glutamate. Casein, the milk protein, lot. Whey protein from milk also has a lot. Soy has a lot. Corn, not so much, but corn's just real cheap to process, so a lot of times they'll make it from corn. Corn's so cheap, it's a widely available commodity. When I eat, I only eat single ingredient foods. That way, because if there's a second ingredient, they're allowed to hide MSG in it. So that's why I don't ever eat anything with more than one ingredient. Can organic contain GMO? Organic food, USDA organic certified foods are not allowed to contain GMO, genetically modified organism. What herbicides are forbidden with organic? If it's organic, it's not allowed to contain atrazine or glyphosate, and those are really bad. Atrazine is what's typically sprayed on corn, and that is very, very estrogenic. It's also a mitochondrial inhibitor, inhibits complex 3 of mitochondria, so it's also a brain toxin. Glyphosate is also a brain toxin. It increases activation of the NMDA receptor for glutamate. Okay, so it's an excitotoxin. Think of it as being glycine and phosphate. Glycine is an amino acid with a phosphate added to it. There's a little more to it than that, but not much. So the NMDA receptor can be activated by glycine, and so when you have glycine phosphate, it's able apparently to activate it. Stephanie Seneff writes about this in her book, Toxic Legacy. Atrazine was shown, that was a guy, Tyrone Hayes, did a lot of the research on showing. That's the thing that turned the male frogs into female frogs. Pretty powerful estrogenic chemical there. And on top of it, it's neurotoxic. Just like I said, the research of Seralini showed these estrogenic chemicals were very commonly not just estrogenic, they were also neurotoxic, meaning lowering IQ, causing brain damage, decreasing cognitive function. Some of them are glyphosate's thought to be associated with increased risk of lymphoma, which is a type of cancer, according to her book there. What about pesticides? Non-organic foods overall will have more pesticides than organic. And they've tested this. They've checked people's urine and blood and found that the people eating organic would have much less pesticide, herbicide residues. So, because some people say to me, oh, organic's bogus, they don't really follow the rules. And I'm sure sometimes they don't, but they often do. And it can be proven by testing the patients, okay? Do organics forbid human sludge as fertilizer? Yes, organic forbids human feces as fertilizer. But organic does not forbid certain toxic things like that AP, then letter L that they put on avocados and apparently on apples and some other fruits. I would avoid that. If a food is labeled non-GMO, does that mean there's no glyphosate on it? No, they will spray glyphosate, like I said, as a desiccant to dry the leaves off and facilitate harvesting it more rapidly. And that'll be on things like barley, rye, oats, peas, garbanzo beans, same thing as chickpeas and lentils. So that's another reason why I prefer organic, because I'll often eat, a lot of these starches. Potentially it's sprayed on sunflower seeds, apparently. It's especially used in colder countries because they have a shorter growing season, and that would include Canada, according to Stephanie Seneff. Let's see. The amounts in organic foods are much, much, much lower of things like glyphosate. Okay, glyphosate inhibits what's called the shikimate pathway and an enzyme called EPSP. Okay, do some companies cheat? Yeah, sometimes they do. Usually they don't. According to Mike Adams, from Food Forensics author, he feels some countries have so much pollution that, like China, that organic is meaningless if it comes from that country. And he thinks there's other countries also that have a lot of problems with contaminants. Do organic foods contain more nutrients? Probably a minimal difference. That's probably not too much of a big reason. The main reason is avoid pesticides and herbicides. Okay, what's the proof that organic is better? People who have an organic have much less herbicide and pesticide residues in their blood and urine. They have a little bit lower risk of cancer. And then what's the deal with organic food in Russia? Putin is hoping that Russia will become a leader in organic foods, according to this article. And I can tell you, when I grew up, Russia was considered sort of like a godless, atheist shithole, okay? Basically, we consider them scum, the evil empire. America, we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. We used to talk about America being the melting pot out of many one, and everybody's real proud. We felt it was obvious. America was by far the best country in the world, okay? And, used to call Russia the godless commies, scumbags, but we respected them in sports. They had the best wrestlers in the world. We felt they had an unfair advantage because they were essentially subsidized by Russia. So we were true amateurs, really poor. But the fact that Russia is now claiming it could be a leader in organic foods, and I saw some music videos in Russia, including with Putin in the audience, and all these singers had a crucifix necklace, okay? So their Christianity is growing in Russia. And I think, Putin's an old KGB guy, but if he's smart, he knows, man, you let Christianity grow, it just energizes the people. It'll lead to prosperity. In Russia, I think if they wanted to, they could dramatically increase their power. All they got to do is invite Christians from all over the Western world. Christians are being heavily prosecuted. If they let them into Russia and respect them and are nice to them and promote them, Russia could massively, because there's so much talent in the Christian population, it's not even funny. Dramatic talent, and it energizes people more than anything else. So Russia could really dramatically increase its potential as a country if it were to do that. Who knows what they're going to do. They seemed, kind of happy to participate in Ukraine, the general side of the Ukrainian Christian men. Okay, if you're at a restaurant, what can you do? Well, you can especially avoid corn and soy and other likely GMO foods. What plants are especially important to eat organic? Strawberries, you can't wash them. Celery, because the stuff gets in the ridges. Grapes, because the skin's too thin. Spinach, because it's just a leaf and it'll get sprayed on both sides. This website, Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, it's got a dirty dozen list of things that are especially prone to having a lot of herbicides and pesticides on them. So you want to especially eat organic if you're going to eat those things. And they'll talk about other things that tend to be especially low in herbicides and pesticides. So that might be worth pursuing. Cadmium also is a little higher in our non-organic foods, and that's a a heavy metal toxin, mitochondria inhibitor, so that's pretty bad. That's why I wouldn't eat at a sidewalk cafe, because it comes off of brake pads too. I don't want to be around traffic and all the crap coming out of the exhaust from the cars. Okay, I know some people like the social environment of being in a restaurant and all the people around. I'm not. I don't like any of that stuff. I like kind of quiet and privacy. I love having a conversation with friends, but I don't like being out in the public, not at all. I used to live in the city for a while. I hated it. I like rural, quiet, peaceful, where you can think. City life makes you stupid. You're stuck in all the traffic. You got to deal with all the hassles. All right, what are disadvantages of eating organic? It costs a little bit more, but starch is pretty cheap. Even organic starch is relatively cheap. Starch tends to store well, so you can buy a big thing of oatmeal. It'll last for just a couple of bucks. It'll last you a long time. Beans, rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa. Okay, fruit's real expensive, doesn't store so well. What about the environment? Organic's better for the environment. Non-organic, less pollution. What animals are fed GMO crops? Yeah, you feed cows, chickens, and pigs GMO crops, then you get these GMO effects and what's sprayed on them into the food. What are some GMO versions of plants? Corn, soy, the big two GMO, but they're also in some tomatoes, cotton, papaya, canola, sugar beets, alfalfa, also tobacco. So I'd be careful with the sugar beets if you're having, beet juice, or if you're buying beets or whatever, or sugar made from beets. I would want to know that. I wouldn't eat it if it's not organic. Are GMOs safe? The risks aren't yet clear. I don't think they are. I doubt they are. There's a lot of reasons to believe it's not as specific and well precise as they wish it was. There's a lot of lectures online about people really worried about GMO, especially a guy by the name of Jeffrey Smith. I would never eat GMO soy. No way. Soy's got so many problems. It's high in fat. It's a high protein food, of course. It can concentrate aluminum sometimes, can concentrate fluoride sometimes. It's often processed with hexane solvents, neurotoxin. It's super estrogenic. It's goitrogenic. It can increase insulin-like growth factor. Uniquely for a plant, it'll have high heme iron. I think it's, the purpose of it is to sterilize low IQ chumps. I think the modern literature saying it's a good thing is largely industry funded. I don't believe it. It's often sprayed with glyphosate. Stephanie Seneff, the MIT PhD professor lady, she wrote an entire book on all the complications and side effects of glyphosate. I would never eat anything with that on it. Given a choice, no way. Okay, so what's the bottom line with organic? Eat it if you can. I only eat organic. I can tell you most of these nutrition, even if they don't specifically emphasize in their talks, given a choice, I will bet you they all try to eat organic, and almost entirely if they can. I don't almost never get invited anywhere, so it's pretty rare that I would ever need to break my diet, and I don't like fast foods or restaurant foods, so I don't have to break my diet other than on super rare occasions at a special public event, or to be polite, I'll maybe eat something a tiny bit. So anyways, that's it for organic. I do think it's a good thing for all those reasons. Hope this was helpful.